Some people would say One Piece is about adventure, chasing your dreams, and the power of friendship. But what if I told you it wasn't? One Piece is way more complex and diverse than we could ever think. What if I told you that One Piece was really the reflection of our real world? Some people might have already realized this with arcs like Skypiea, Wano being feudal Japan, and Alabasta. But did you know that One Piece is telling an even bigger story? I'm going to break this video into 3 parts, with 1 being references and elements, 2 being world politics and history, and 3 being conspiracy. Before I start, I ask that you guys drop a like on the video. Support is free, and hopefully I can win your follow at the end. With that being said, let's get into the video. First reference we're going to talk about is the land of One Piece. It's more than obvious that Oda took inspiration from the real world we live in. Just by these photos I'm sharing with you, you can see the similarities that One Piece have to the real world. One Piece also references religion, like Mihawk's cross, Bartholomew's Bible, and even a cult in One Piece. Oda even references real-life characters that existed in our real world. Even characters like Blackbeard, Roanoa Zoro, Bellamy, Hawkins, and Goldie Roger are referenced in real life. We also see this trend with admirals and various characters all throughout One Piece. With that being said, let's move on to the next part, history and politics. One Piece is rich with lore, with stories that transcend the One Piece world to speak on real-world events and tragedies. One Piece world is corrupt to say the least, with a government that taxes its citizens, lies to its citizens, while simultaneously telling them that it's in their best interest, while the elites sit back and reap the benefits of their labor. For some reason that sounds awfully familiar. This government also lets dictators rule over these lands for personal gain. For example, Arlong oppressing Nami in Orange Town, Doflamingo and Dressrosa, and Kaido and Wano polluting the land. I think Crocodile is the most important to relay this message. Crocodile represents the underground cartels that reign supreme in many countries through bribing, manipulation, and coups. Crocodile was influencing Alabasta from the shadows and was allowed to because of his status, being a warlord, which is the equivalent of being a banker or entrepreneur in the real world. We see this more even with characters like Doflamingo and Kaido that were polluting the land for personal gain. With industries like the Smile Factory, which is literally polluting the inhabitants. Once again, we see all of this shit in our real world. Sorry for my language, but we see all of this crap in the real world. And I think this is what Oda is trying to tell us with these villains. They're not just big evil doofuses. They're actually manifestations of our real world and its problems. Next reference we have is the voice entry. Did you know that we have one too? In the real world, we're missing 98% of our history, which is crazy. O'Hara is also a reference from our real world. In the real world, this was called the Library of Alexandria. But this library was burned down by one of the biggest empires in history, the Roman Empire. The next reference we have is from Skypiea, which is clearly referencing the Native Americans versus the Europeans, with the Shandians and the Skypians being the Native Americans and the Nel being the colonizing European. Another reference I have is fishermen are black people. I know that sounds crazy, but let me explain, and I'm not talking about skin. So a people that was exiled because of their race or the way they look, that's definitely black people. Fisher Tiger was Malcolm X and Orihime was MLK. Though they lived different, they still fought for the same thing, the freedom of fishermen. Orihime wanted to do it peacefully and without violence, and she also wanted to integrate with the humans. While Fisher Tiger being very opposite, going around freeing slaves aggressively, but still in a disciplined way, and he was okay with fishmen and humans not being together. Just don't oppress the fishmen. And they both poetically met the same fate. Now, for the coolest part of the video, conspiracy. The previous categories was to get you guys to believe that Oda takes real elements from our world, right? But with this section, I'm going to speak about the things in One Piece that connect almost way too well with our real world. But some people might call these things conspiracies. The first conspiracy we're going to talk about is the Five Elders. The Five Elders are the biggest oppressors in One Piece and are probably the most dangerous ones too. With that being said, the design of the oppressors in One Piece kind of looks like the ones in the real world. I'm actually surprised Oda put these guys in suits, and their skin color just makes it even more crazy to me. Not to be racist or anything, but we know in the real world what people brought the most suffering to this world, and it's funny how they're in suits and ties in the One Piece world as well. The Five Elders do evil acts all through One Piece and its history, like spreading lies, propaganda, starting wars, enslaving other humans, and I'm not going to say that word, and even stooping down to genocide. But some people might say this conspiracy theory can't work because we don't have a world government. But yes, it can, because the people of One Piece don't know it. Spoilers, that's why Cobra died. Most of you guys probably didn't understand this, but when Cobra died, he died because he found out that the world wasn't what it seemed. The world government in One Piece makes it look like the places of Alabasta and Dressrosa really have say when they don't. It's really Imu. That's why nobody sits at the chair or the throne. So when Cobra seen Imu sitting on the throne, he couldn't believe his eyes. And the elders was looking back like, hold on, Imu, don't sit there. Because they're trying to keep this facade still.
The world should not bend to one person's will. This was the oath.
Even the Celestial Dragon's privileges reaffirms this conspiracy. The Celestial Dragons in the real world are billionaires, monarchs, oligarchies, and just important people all around the world that have been ruling for years. Conspiracies in the real world that back this up are the ones about the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, Freemasonry, Bohemian Grove. It goes on. But I think Oda is trying to let us know this is happening in our real world, and he put it in his show. I don't think this is for everyone. The ones that get it, and the ones that don't. So, yeah. Now let's talk about our next conspiracy theory, and this one is about the Ancient Kingdom. In our world, there's a conspiracy theory called the Tartarian Mud Flood, which can also be linked with the Atlantis theory. But one day it got destroyed by a cataclysmic flood that left the world devastated. And after this catastrophe, the people that run this world began to rewrite history and started controlling everything. Not much is known about the Ancient Kingdom in One Piece. All we know is that this civilization had a great influence across the world and still has allies that live to this day. Joy Boy was most likely a king or a very important person in his time. We know that Joy Boy went to war with the 20 kingdoms that was standing against the Ancient Kingdom to stand with Imu, or what they thought was right at the time. They probably was being manipulated by Imu. But after Imu and the Five Elders won this war, they made it forbidden to even talk about this ancient civilization or Joy Boy, and even went to the levels of genociding a whole island just to keep the secret undertucked. And you know what they say in the real world, the victor writes the history books. Vegapunk telling us that they used to use free energy is a direct clue to the Ancient Kingdom and how it used to operate. We can tell where this story is going from here. It's going from a good to light story. A bad versus evil. If you're on Imu's side, you're bad. And if you're on Luffy and Joy Boy's side, then you're on the good side. Speaking of Joy Boy, this leads us into the next topic. Sun God Nika is Jesus. I know that sounds crazy and Oda wouldn't go that far, but just hear me out here. What we know about Joy Boy is very limited, but we know the picture that Oda is trying to paint. I'm going to make it clear from now, when I say Joy Boy, I'm talking about Sun God Nika. And they're two different people, which a lot of people don't know, but that's a whole different discussion. When people refer to Sun God Nika in One Piece, they refer to him as some type of savior or a god that is supposed to return to save them. Joy Boy still has allies all throughout the One Piece world to this day, like the Kozuki clan, Fishmen, Shandians, and more. Even people like Kuma and prisoners believe in this. This is very similar in our real world. Through the belief of Christianity, where people believe that a savior called Jesus is going to come and save them, And I think this is very similar, and I think this is what Oda is trying to do. And the way Luffy even turned into the sun god was kind of like Jesus. He died and rose again. In Luffy's case, he rose and became the sun god, while Jesus died and the sun went down for 3 days and it rose on the 3rd day. In many early religions in our real world, a lot of ancient civilizations worship the sun. They seen the sun as esoteric proof that God exists. So they paid homage to the sun through symbolism in their mythologies and religion. With that being said, I'm going to end this video right here. If you guys would like a part 2, please let me know in the comments and let me know how you guys felt about the video. And also drop a like so my video could get in the algorithm. And yeah, subscribe. Peace.